Hi, everyone. I hope everyone's doing okay and they're keeping healthy as can be, okay, in given the circumstances. So welcome to our first grade 9 science chemistry lesson that's going to be online. And so if you're able to, and if you have a printer at home, it would probably be a lot easier to print out the lesson notes that I've sent to you by email. Just print out this part right here where it's the PDF. And I know it's, I think, about 6 pages long for this lesson. Okay. I'm going to try my best to teach you and also even just show you the videos. Okay. And so our first lesson is on the parts of the atom and what an atom is. Okay. So why don't we watch some videos together? Um, okay, so I think I can just, okay, so let's just listen in together and learn about atoms. So we're going to learn about the periodic table of elements in a few different lessons, okay? Oh my goodness. Okay, my baby is crying. Give me one moment. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, I'm going to pause that there just because it gets into some other info. So this video is great, but it covers some things that we don't necessarily need to know. Okay, let's try out the second one. So what is an atom? So it's going to cover some of the similar information, but it's still going to be good just to see it again. Okay, so I'm going to pause that right there. So this is the gist of the lesson that we're going to be learning about. So these are the parts of the atom. There's protons that are positively charged, so they're plus. Neutrons have a neutral charge. Okay, so one of the common mistakes that students make is they think that neutrons, because it starts with an N, have a negative charge. Okay, but that's not true. Neutrons have a neutral charge. Okay. And then lastly, there are electrons, and those things are negatively charged. Okay, so when I think of an atom and the different particles, um, electrons are very, very lightweight, and they are kind of like all around. Okay, they hang out in orbits. That means they circle around just like the planets orbit the sun, quite far away from the sun. Okay, so the middle part is very, very heavy, just like the sun is huge and very heavy. And so that's called the nucleus. So in the middle of the atom is the nucleus. They are made of neutrons and protons. Okay, so inside the nucleus are the orange neutrons and the red protons. Those are in the middle. So I like to think of those as like my body. Okay, so like the atom, when I represent the atom as my body, the middle part is kind of like my body. The electrons are kind of like my long hair. They're kind of hanging out outside of my body. It's still kind of connected, but they're very, very lightweight. They have small mass and they're very, very tiny compared to the rest of my body. They're very, very lightweight, and electrons also have very, very small mass. Okay, so these two things, protons and neutrons, they're much heavier. So just like my body, it's much heavier compared to like my strands of hair. So the electrons are kind of like my strands of hair. They hang out outside of my body, and they're very, very lightweight. Meanwhile, the neutrons and the protons are in the middle of my body, and they're much more heavyweight. Okay, so just like what I was saying, protons and neutrons, they actually have the same mass, but they're kind of like my body, okay, or your body, whereas the electrons, they're much, much, much less heavy. They're kind of like a strand or two of hair compared to the rest of your body. So you don't really need to know this that much, okay? Okay, Peter, just wait 1 second. Yep. Okay, I think I'm going to pause this over here as well since it's getting into more information that we don't necessarily need to get into. Okay, so let's go back to this lesson and we can read this part together. Okay, so here they have a simplified diagram of an atom. The protons, P stands for protons, so maybe I'll just copy that down. Protons. Okay, N stands for neutron. Okay, and please copy this down as well on your own paper. Feel free if I'm doing this too fast just to pause the video, okay? And then the E stands for electron. So here's a great little picture where it shows the protons and the neutrons in the center and the E, the electrons, in the outside. Okay, and let's read this together. Okay, so here are the key terms. A proton is a part of the atom that has a positive charge and it is found in the nucleus. A neutron is a part of the atom that has neither a positive nor a negative charge. It is found in the nucleus as well. An electron is the part of the atom that has a negative electrical charge and it orbits the nucleus. Orbits is just another word for circles, circles around. Okay, so orbits is another word for circles around. Okay, so orbits means circles around. So please copy that down. Okay, and then lastly, the nucleus is the central part of an atom which contains neutrons and protons. Okay, so please copy those little notes down, and then and then we'll read the next part together. Okay, so what are the parts of the atom? Okay, so let's read this together. Please follow along and try to read while I read as well. Okay, so people once thought that the atom was the smallest particle of matter in the universe. However, scientists now know that atoms are made up of even smaller parts. There are three different kinds of particles. They are protons, neutrons, and electrons. Okay, so over here, they're just telling you how to say it. Most of the mass of an atom is found in the central part of the atom, called the nucleus. The nucleus of an atom is made up of protons and neutrons. These particles are packed very tightly together in the nucleus. So there's a bunch of information here, and then in the pages that are following, they're going to be asking questions about this information that you're learning. So please feel free to rewind in the video or look back on the sheet of paper on the handouts to look up the information. Okay, so you don't have to memorize this stuff, but it's good to get it in your brain and start trying to remember this stuff. Okay. Electrons are found outside the nucleus. They circle the nucleus very, very quickly. Electrons are very small and have almost no mass. The number of electrons in an atom is always equal to the number of protons in the nucleus of that atom. Okay, that means that each atom is actually neutral. Okay, so there's no overall charge because the number of electrons, so just remember that electrons are negative, okay, so they're negatively charged. And then protons, let me just see. That's okay. Anyways, it says it right here, okay? So just remember that overall, the atom is neutral because electrons are negative, protons are positive, but the electrons and protons that are in the atom, there's an equal amount, okay? So scientists have discovered that protons, electrons, and neutrons have different charges. You probably know that the word charge has something to do with electricity. There are two kinds of charges. These are positive, plus charges, and negative, or minus charges. By studying atoms, scientists have learned that protons have positive plus charges, electrons have negative minus charges, and neutrons have no charges. They are neutral. Since atoms have the same number of protons and electrons, the number of positive charges equals the number of negative charges. The opposite charges cancel each other out. Therefore, the whole atom has no overall charge. Okay, so feel free to rewind that, read that over again, and then before tackling the problems. Okay, so let's just test our understanding. Okay, so here we have a little chart. We are showing that the nucleus is in the center. The nucleus is made up of protons and neutrons, and then the electrons are orbiting or circling around the nucleus. So the table below tells us where the parts of the atom are found and what the charge of each part is. So this is the name of the part, proton, neutron, and electron, where it is found. Protons are inside the nucleus and have a positive charge. Neutrons are inside the nucleus and they have a zero charge, neutral charge. And electrons are outside the nucleus and they have a negative charge. Okay, so over here, Figure B, so this was figure A on top. Figure B is right here. Figure B shows the center of a lithium atom. So everyone say lithium. Okay, so when you think of the batteries that are in your cell phone, they are usually made of lithium ion batteries. And so this is an element, and this is the way, if you blow up zoom in quite close to one lithium atom, if you zoom in very close, this is what it would look like. Okay, so the center of the atom is called its nucleus. Name the parts that make up a nucleus. Okay, so let's take a look. This is the picture of a nucleus. And what is it made up of? So let's remind ourselves, what does the N stand for? The N stands for neutrons. Okay, neutrons make up a nucleus. And then what do the P's stand for? Think of it on your own. What do the P's stand for? Okay, protons. Okay, in the diagram, each P stands for protons, and each N stands for a neutron. Let's count. How many protons are in a lithium nucleus? Okay, so what we're doing is here, we are counting the number of P's in this picture. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. So we're going to write down the number 3. Okay, so we're going to do a few of these together, and then you can do some on your own worth marks. How many neutrons are in a lithium nucleus? Okay, how do you represent neutrons? The neutrons are represented by the N. Okay, so let's count out how many N's there are. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so notice that there are actually a different number of protons and neutrons. That's okay though. Okay, now over here, figure C, which is up here, right over here, down here, this shows a full lithium atom. Okay, so this was just showing the nucleus. This was just the nucleus. Whereas this here is the full atom, okay, including the electrons. So how many electrons does a lithium atom have? So what letter represents the electrons? Let's look at the first letter in electrons. It's represented by the letter E. Okay, so here are the E's. How many are there? 1, 2, 3. Okay, sorry, 3. How many positive charges are in the atom? Okay, so let's take a look. Positive means protons. So we're going to look up protons, which are positive. So that's going to be 3. So we're looking up the P's, the number of P's, so we can count them out again. 1, 2, 3, right over here. Okay, or we can just think to ourselves, protons are positive. How many negative charges are in the atom? So the positives are right over here. Okay, so sorry everyone, give me a moment. Okay, so there's going to be there's 3 positive charges, right over here. 1, 2, 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Sorry, it's hard to see. Okay, and then there's 3 negatives right here. Okay, so here's a negative right here because that's an electron. Electrons are negative. Okay, this is another negative right over here. So you have to start associating, making a connection between the positives and the negatives. Okay, the positives and the negatives. So E, there's 3 negative charges because the E's are negative charges. What is the overall charge of the atom? Well, there are 3 positives and 3 negatives. So if I have 3 and then I minus 3, the overall charge is 0. Okay, so the overall charge is 0 here. Okay, this means that overall the atom is neutral. Okay, let's do another one. Below and on the following page are diagrams of 6 different atoms. In the spaces provided to the right of each diagram, fill in the number of protons, neutrons, electrons, positive charges, negative charges, and the overall charge of each atom. Okay, so I'm hoping that we can do several examples together, and then you can do a few by yourself. Okay, so protons stand for P, so let's just write that down. Oh gosh, let me just change this. Let me just change this. Okay, let's go with P. Okay, N stands for neutrons. E stands for, oh, okay, positive charge is protons. Negative charge is electrons. Overall charge, we do P minus E. Okay, hope that helps. So P stands for protons, N stands for neutrons, E stands for electrons. P is the number of positive charges, so whatever number you get here, okay? So the number of protons is 1, right? The number of neutrons, well, there are none here. There's no N's here, so I'm going to put down 0, okay? The number of electrons is 1, okay? So when I'm looking up the number of positive charges, I'm actually looking up the protons. So in the protons, there's 1 of these. Okay, how many negative charges are there? Well, the negative charges have to do with the electrons. So there's 1 electron. And then the overall charge is the protons minus the electrons, which is 0. Okay. Okay, hope that makes sense. Let's do, I'm going to leave this one for you, okay, to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this would be a mark out of 6, okay, for marks. Okay, but don't do it right now. Let's just do a few more examples together, okay? Let's take a look at a beryllium atom. So everyone say beryllium. Beryllium. Okay, so let's look up the P's, the N's, and the E's. Okay, so we're looking up the protons, the neutrons, the electrons, and then just remember the positive charges have to do with the number of protons. The negative charges, be careful, it doesn't have to do with the N, which is neutrons. It has to do with the electrons. Okay, so be very careful about that. And then finally, the overall charge is P minus E. Okay, so you're going to follow the exact same pattern as what we did over here. So if it helps you, write it down. P N E, P E, P E. Okay, just along here as well, you're going to follow the same pattern. Okay, so let's count out the number of protons. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 protons. So my protons are in yellow. Okay, and then I have 4 of them. Okay, my number of neutrons, I'll do them in red, not a big deal, whatever color. You don't need to even use these, okay? Neutrons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've got 5 of these. Okay, how many electrons do we have? Try it out right now. Figure that out, okay? Count out the electrons. Okay, I'll use blue for this one. Okay, so here are the electrons. 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's 4 electrons. Okay, 4 electrons. So let's look up P for positive charge, and there's 4 of them. Let's look up E for the negative charge. So just remember, you don't look up N, you look up the electrons, which have the negative charge. Well, there's 4 of them. So what's the overall charge? 4 minus 4, because 4 of them are plus, 4 of them are minus, and so overall, if there's 4 pluses and 4 minuses, the overall charge is 0. So what you'll notice is that there's a pattern. The overall charge for each of these will always be 0. Okay? Let's do one more example together, and I'm going to leave some of them on your own. Okay, so why don't we do neon? So these ones you're going to do on your own. This is going to be worth 6 marks. This one will also be worth 6 marks. Okay, so you're going to be doing boron and oxygen on your own, and then we're going to do neon together. Okay, so write it down. Okay, so actually, well, yeah, let's just do it. P, N. So I recommend that you do this as well. Okay, positive charge is P. Negative charge is not N, it is E. And then overall charge is P minus E. Okay, so you're going to always do the same pattern. Once you understand the pattern, then you can fill out this whole worksheet totally correctly. Okay, let's count out the number of protons. This time I'm going to use a more dark color. Okay, so protons are going to be purple for me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there are 10 protons. Okay, let's count out the number of neutrons next. So I'm going to do green for neutrons. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 neutrons as well. Okay, and let's count out electrons as well. So try that out right now. Count out the number of electrons. Although you can maybe even guess, if you know that it's always going to be the same, the number of protons and electrons, you can probably even just put down 10 once you see the pattern. Sometimes the neutrons, there's a different number of them. Okay, but let's check it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so yeah, we were right. The number of protons is always equal to the number of electrons because overall the atom is neutral. Okay, so let's look up the number of positive charges. We know that protons are positive, so even if it helps, let's put a positive right beside here. Okay, because protons are positive, electrons are negative. We're going to put a minus sign right beside it just to remind ourselves of what that means, right? Electrons are negative. So how many positive charges are there? Well, we're going to look up the number of protons, which is 10. How many negative charges are there? There's 10 of them as well, 10 negative charges. And so the overall charge is going to be 10 plus. So if it helps you even, we can even write like this as well. We can even write down 10 plus. Okay, and then 10 minus. So if I have positive 10 and I have negative 10, then it's going to be positive 10 minus 10, which is overall still a 0 charge. Okay, so please everyone, pause this video, do question E for 6 marks, do question G, boron, for 6 marks, and then question H for 6 marks as well. Okay, and then once you're finished that, you can move on and keep playing this video. Okay, so now we're going to do some of these questions together. Yep, good. We're almost done. Okay, great. So I know this is a really long video, but I think that if I kind of go through this as if you were in class, this might be really helpful for you to really complete the work. Okay, so complete each statement using a term or terms from the list below. Write your answers in the spaces provided. Some answers may be used more than once. Okay, so let's not get into the habit of crossing these out. Let's just use them whenever they're correct. Okay, so we're filling in the blanks. So all matter is made up of tiny tiny parts called, okay, so what are these? Outside protons, nucleus, neutrons, atoms, smaller, same, negative, no, cancel out, electrons, positive. Okay, so all matter is made up of tiny parts called. Okay, so what do? We're going to use our good study habits. And if we don't know the answer right away, we can always look it up. Okay, so don't be lazy. Make sure you go back to the beginning and let's look up some of these key words. Okay, most people once thought that the atom was the smallest particle of matter in the universe. However, scientists now know that atoms are made up of even smaller parts. Okay, there are 3 different types of particles: protons, neutrons, and electrons. Okay, so what they're saying is that we once thought that the atom was the smallest particle of matter, but we know that there's actually even smaller particles within the atom, okay? But I think the atoms are actually still a very small part. Okay, so let's look at this. We have to use, okay, so all matter is made up of tiny parts called, okay, so the first word is actually atoms. Okay, so all matter is made up of atoms. Okay, the center part of an atom is called the, okay, so I hope you remember what that is, but if not, let's look back, okay? Here's a diagram of the center of an atom. Take a look, it's pointing to the center, okay? And just look at the words here, Okay, what is it called, this center part? Look up this little diagram with the words over here. So I'm going to leave you to do that one on your own. Oops. Okay, so let's do this question right. You can do that question right here on your own. Okay, write down one of these words. Okay, you can look it up from that other one. A nucleus is made up of blank and blank. Let's do this one on your own as well, okay? So let's look back. Okay, a nucleus is made up of, okay, so here we are, here's the nucleus. It tells you what the nucleus is made up of right there. Okay, so you're going to use those words, write them down. Okay. Oh, just as a side note, I'm sorry, I forgot. Okay. So if you don't have a printer at home, please, what I would like you to do is just to simply write down your answers on a sheet of paper. Okay. So what you could write down on your sheet of paper is lesson 14, sorry, lesson number 10, lesson 10. Okay. And then on the paper, I would like you on this one here, on these questions right here, just write down on your paper figure E. Okay, so I'm going to highlight this. Okay, so write down figure E and then write down maybe figure E and then just number these as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you're going to put down figure E 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and just put down your answers. Okay, similarly for the other one, for the other questions, you can put down figure G 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, figure H 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, then over here for these ones, please write down fill in the blank and then just put down the number that I circle. So number 2, whatever your answer is, write in fill in the blank and then number 2 and then write the answer. So you don't need to write down the whole line, just write in the blank part. Okay, so whatever I'm highlighting, that's what I want you to write down on your paper. Okay. Next up, electrons are found. Okay, electrons are found blank the nucleus. Okay, so let's look up that next one. Maybe we'll do this one together. Okay, so where is it found? Okay, the electron is found outside the nucleus. Okay, so let's look back and fill in that blank. Electrons are found outside the nucleus. So let's write that down. Okay, electrons are, let's see which word makes sense. Okay, here, are they smaller or larger than protons or neutrons? Well, I know that they are smaller, so I'm going to write down the word smaller. Okay, next up, I want you to do this one on your own. Okay, so the main parts of the atom are, so what are the 3 particles, the 3 parts of an atom? Okay, let's look those up. What are the 3 parts of an atom? Well, you can even just see them right here. Right? What does the E stand for? What does the N stand for? What does the P stand for? Okay, so you just write those down here. Okay, so that's the idea. Okay, so I want you to continue on with this. It might be quite challenging for some of you, okay, to get all of these answers, but basically I want you to complete all of these questions, okay? Fill out all these blanks using these words. Okay, then I also want you to write down true or false. T for true, F for false. Okay, I don't want this video to be too long, so I'm probably going to stop right here. Okay, I'm not going to do any more of these with you. So you have to look back on that information, think about the statement that's here, and then fill it out. Okay, so over here, yeah, if anyone needs someone to help them read the questions at home, please just ask an adult to help you read the questions, okay? Um, okay, I'm gonna stop that here. This is turning out to be a really long video, like 30 minutes. So everyone take care, and I'll see if I can make the next videos a little bit shorter, okay? But I just wanted to fully explain this one, just to make sure that everyone understood. Okay, take care everyone, have a good day, and please complete your homework as best as you can. But if you can't, no worries, don't stress out about it. Even just by watching this video, you're hopefully learning a little bit. Okay, take care, bye-bye.